In this video, we're going to talk about polynomial long division. And this is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to do long division using polynomials. All right, before we do that, it's going to be useful for you to remember how to do long division just with numbers. Right? If you can understand this, it's really going to help you for the polynomial long division. Right? So let's go and just do two quick examples. So if I want to do 1,641 divided by 3, right? You should remember this from elementary school. Right? How would I divide 1,641 by 3? Right? Well, let's think. How many times does 3 go into 1? Well, it can't. So let's see. How many times does 3 go into 16? 5 times. Right? And then we're going to multiply. 3 times 5 is 15. So then we subtract here. 16 minus 15 is 1. And then I need to bring down this 4. So now I have to ask, how many times does 3 go into 14? Right? 4 times. Right? And again, we multiply. 3 times 4 is 12. Right? And then 14 minus 12 gets me 2. Now I need to bring down that 1. And I ask, how many times does 3 go into 21? Well, 3 goes into 21 7 times. 3 times 7 is 21. And then if I subtract that, I get 0. Right? So 1,641 divided by 3 is 547. Okay? Let's look at the next one. So we want to do 937 divided by 4. Right? Well, let's think. How many times does 4 go into 9? 2 times. Right? So 4 times 2 is 8. And then we can subtract that. Right? And I get 1. But we need to bring down this 3. So now we ask the question, how many times does 4 go into 13? Well, 4 goes into 13 3 times. So 4 times 3 will get me 12. And 13 minus 12 is 1. And then we need to bring down this 7. Right? So now we got to think, how many times does 4 go into 17? Right? Well, it doesn't go into 17 perfectly. 4 goes into 17 4 times. Right? 4 times 4 is 16. And then I have 1 left over. Right? And you may have seen this written a couple ways. In elementary school, one way you saw this written is 234 with a remainder of 1. Right? That's one way you probably saw it written. But let's think about what that remainder means. Right? If I was doing 937 divided by 4, right, that means if I were dividing 937 maybe apples by 4 farmers, right, they're going to each divide this 937 apples. Each person's going to get some apples, right? So 937 apples divided by 4 farmers, each farmer would get 234 apples. But there would be 1 apple that's left over, right? And if we still wanted to divide up that apple, how much would each person get? Right? It would be 234 apples, and then 1 apple divided up between 4 people, that's 1/4 of an apple. Right? So the answer that each person would get, if you really divided everything up, would be 234 apples, and then 1/4. Right? Each person gets 1/4 as well. All right, so now we're ready to do some polynomial long division. Okay, so this looks kind of intimidating, but it's not that hard. All right, so we have this polynomial. We're going to divide 10x cubed minus 34x squared plus 27x minus 6. Divide that by 5x minus 2. All right, let's do this one together. All right, we're going to set this up just like the long division we did with numbers. Right? So we have 10x cubed minus 34x squared plus 27x minus 6. And we're going to divide that by 5x minus 2. Right? And we're kind of going to think about this the same way. We're just going to do this piece by piece. All right, so let's think. And let's just look at this first term, 5x, and this first term here, 10x cubed. How many times does 5x go into 10x cubed? All right? And the answer is 2x squared. Right? Why is that? Because 5x times 2x squared would get you 10x cubed. Right? So now what do? We're going to multiply 2x squared by this, 5x minus 2. Right? And that's the key thing. We're multiplying 2x squared by this whole thing, 5x minus 2. All right, if we were to multiply that, what would we get? 2x squared times 5x minus 2 would get me 10x cubed minus 4x squared. Okay? All right, next, just like with regular long division, we're going to subtract this. All right, so let's think. 10x cubed minus 10x cubed, that's going to be 0. All right, and then this second part here, negative 34x squared minus negative 4x squared. Well, subtracting minus 4x squared, that's the same thing as adding 4x squared. So negative 34x squared plus 4x squared, that's going to be negative 30x squared. Okay, and just like with regular long division, we're going to bring the next part down. So this would be plus 27x here. Okay, now let's think. How many times does 5x minus 2 go into this part? Negative 30x squared plus 27x. Right? Let's just look at this 5x. How many times does 5x go into negative 30x squared? Right? The answer is negative 6x. Right? So let's multiply now. Negative 6x times 5x minus 2. If we multiply that, we would get negative 30x squared plus 12x. Can you see that? All right. Next, we have to subtract. This is the part where a lot of people mess up, so really be careful here with your subtraction. Right? So let's see, negative 30x squared minus negative 30x squared. Well, this was plus, right? This would become plus. So negative 30x squared plus 30x squared, that would be 0. Right? And then here, 27x minus 12x, so that's 15x. Okay, and then let's bring down this negative 6. Okay, and now last part here, let's think, how many times does 5x minus 2 go into 15x minus 6? Well, the answer is 3 times. So it's plus 3 here. Okay, let's multiply. 3 times 5x minus 2, that's 15x minus 6. Okay, and lastly, if I subtract this, all right, 15x minus 15x is 0. Negative 6 minus negative 6, that's negative 6 plus 6 is 0. Right? So it went in evenly. Okay, so our final answer is that 10x cubed minus 34x squared plus 27x minus 6 divided by 5x minus 2 is 2x squared minus 6x plus 3. All right, let's look at another one. Okay, so we have a bigger one here. 8x to the 5th minus 22x to the 4th plus 17x cubed minus 9x squared plus 9x divided by 2x squared minus 3x. Okay, I'm going to do part of this, and then you're going to do the second part on your own. All right, so let's set this up. All right, so this whole thing divided by 2x squared minus 3x. All right, so let's kind of do the first part together. All right, the key really is you only need to think about the first part here, 2x squared, going into 8x to the 5th. How many times would that happen? Right, that would go in 4x cubed times. Right, so now we're going to multiply. Right, and remember, we're multiplying 4x cubed by this whole thing, 2x squared minus 3x. Right, that would be 8x to the 5th minus 12x to the 4th. Okay, and then we're going to subtract. So when we subtract this, we get 8x to the 5th minus 8x to the 5th, that's 0. And then negative 22x to the 4th minus negative 12x to the 4th, right? Remember, this minus and this minus will become plus. So this is negative 22x to the 4th plus 12x to the 4th, right? What does that give me? That gives me minus 10x to the 4th. Right? Let's bring this down. So we have plus 17x cubed. All right, so then we're going to end up, we need to think about 2x squared minus 3x going into negative 10x to the 4th plus 17x cubed. Right? Let's just think about this first part. 2x squared going into negative 10x to the 4th. Right? That would go in negative 5x squared times. So now let's multiply. Negative 5x squared times 2x squared minus 3x. That gets you negative 10x to the 4th plus 15x cubed. Okay, let's go ahead and subtract this. All right, so this would become plus. So negative 10x to the fourth plus 10x to the fourth, that first part here is 0. Okay, and then 17x cubed minus 15x cubed, that would give me plus 2x cubed. Okay, and then let's bring down this. Bring down this minus 9x squared. All right, so now I've done kind of half of it. I would like you to pause here and then finish it. So think about 2x squared minus 3x going into this next. Okay, so please pause and finish it. All right, hopefully you were successful at that. All right, let's double check. So 2x squared going into 2x cubed, right? That would go in x times, so it's going to be plus x here. All right, so 2x squared times, let's multiply, 2x squared minus 3x times x. That's going to give us 2x cubed minus 3x squared. Okay, so here we're going to subtract. So 2x cubed minus 2x cubed, that's 0. All right, that's good. And then we have this part here, negative 9x squared minus negative 3x squared. So this would become plus. So negative 9x squared plus 3x squared, that gives me negative 6x squared. Okay, and let's bring down our 9x. Okay, so let's think now. Last part, negative 2x squared minus 3x going into this. How many times would that happen? That would work negative 3 times. So negative 2x squared minus 3x times negative 3 is going to be negative 6x squared plus 9x. And then finally we're done here. If we subtract, this is 0. Okay, so our final answer is this. 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus x minus 3. All right, before we go to our last slide here, I just want to talk about one quick thing. What would it mean if, let's just pretend for a second that at the end we got a remainder. What would it mean if we got a remainder? Right? Let's say in this problem we got a remainder of, let's just say 5. Right? What would it mean if we got a remainder of 5? Well, that would mean that this division doesn't work evenly, right? And so our answer, if this were the case, would be 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus x minus 3 plus 5 left over that has to be divided by 2x squared minus 3x. Right? So this here would be the final answer if we had a remainder. All right, here's the last one. And this one you're going to do on your own. Right? So if you can please do 20x cubed minus 7x squared minus 22x plus 15 and divide that by 4x minus 3. Okay? Go ahead and do that division. Please pause and do that on your own. All right. Let me go ahead and do this one. All right? So you can check your work. And I just realized I didn't give myself enough room here. All right, so let me move down and do it again over here. 20x cubed minus 7x squared minus 22x plus 15 divided by 4x minus 3. Okay, so you can check your work. Here's what you should get. All right, 4x goes into 20x cubed, 5x squared times. Okay, if I multiply that, that's going to give me 20x cubed minus 15x squared. When I subtract this, right, this first part's going to be 0, and then negative 7 minus negative 15x squared, that's going to be positive 8x squared. Okay, I'm going to do this real fast. Bring down the negative 22x. All right, so now 4x minus 3 needs to go into 8x squared minus 22x. Right, that's going to go in plus 2x times. Right, so if I multiply 2x times 4x minus 3, that's going to give me 8x squared minus 6x. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract this. 8x squared minus 8x squared is 0. And then negative 22x minus negative 6x, that's the same thing as saying plus 6x. That's going to be negative 16x plus 15. All right, so now 4x minus 3 going into negative 16x plus 15, that goes in negative 4 times. So we would, when we multiply negative 4 by 4x minus 3, we're going to get negative 16x plus 12. Okay, lastly, let's subtract this. All right, we end up with 0 plus 3. All right, so your final answer would be this: 5x squared plus 2x minus 4 plus 3 left over that has to be divided by 4x minus 3. And there's your answer.